Do you ever give yourself permission to make art, or do you just make it? Do you ever need justification for why you should do this particular thing at this particular moment? I know this is something that I struggle with sometimes, and something we've talked about on this channel before is trying to manage that sense of outside pressure that can encroach upon your ability to lose yourself in your art, to enjoy it, and to make the things that really convey your voice and your vision. Last year, I made a video about why you should write self-indulgent trash that seemed to strike a chord with a lot of people. In this video, I had argued all the benefits of writing all those tropey, trashy things that you might sometimes feel judged for or might tell yourself aren't real art. But today I wanted to talk about a different side of that equation. The thing that you want to create that you feel is real art, maybe the realest art of all. And when I say real art, obviously that is a very subjective term. There's levels of snobbery in the art world where people will kind of judge certain art as being like the trashy art, and then there's art that's too weird. And it's possible in some cases you might have been working on this for a long time and you still feel like I'm not good enough to do this thing. So today I'm going to try and convince you why you should take some time out to create the weird and the bad along with the self-indulgent. There are a few categories I'm thinking of with this art. There is the thing that's too weird, too unmarketable, difficult to sell. Maybe you've even tried and failed to sell it or market it in the past. There's the project that is just too ambitious and you're not sure if you can ever see it through or finish it, or you're not sure that you can ever do it in a way that lives up to the vision in your head. It's the art that just feels like it's beyond your capabilities. It might be that you want to create something like your favorite writer or painter or whatever you admire. You want to create something like what they did, and you will never be able to live up to that. All you have is your own mediocre talents. And I have had those people that I've encountered in my life where I tell them about my ambitious fantasy world project, and I've had people tell me, you should probably just give that up. It's too big. It's too weird. Those are the kind of projects that will eat you alive. You have talent. You should probably use it on something that will actually be successful. And in a way, those people are not wrong. I've made my living as a writer since 2009, but it is not on the passion project. A few people have asked me since I started this channel, oh, have your books set in your fantasy world? Have they blown up? Are you doing really well with those now? And the answer to that is a resounding no. Are they selling a little better than they were in all the past years? Yes. But we're talking about from complete failure to a nice little wee hobby income. So, I would like to see that grow, but that's not really the point of creating projects like this. I am all for being realistic about the market and creating something that will actually succeed if that is where your head and your life is at. But I also think that's not all there is. So I want to talk about the many reasons that you should create these types of projects. The first reason is, of course, just because it's therapeutic. I'm pretty sure that my fantasy world originally started as a way to cope with anxiety when I was a kid, and I can clearly point you to where I developed a lot of elements of the world and the characters based on what my deepest anxieties were, that I often made my characters face some variation of those anxieties as a way of making it a little less scary to me. I was very afraid of death, so I had a lot of characters that were undead and had faced death and who could communicate with spirits and that whole goth vibe. That helped me see death as something a little less scary. I would have my characters face various types of pain and endurance, very common in so many novels, and when I was scared or something, I would think about the things that they had had to cope with, and all of that just helped me to cope with my anxieties. And did you know that anxiety often peaks in the springtime? Because mine Definitely has been. And my sponsor for this video, BetterHelp, can connect you with a therapist who can provide support. I was honestly so happy when BetterHelp reached out to me because I had already been considering online therapy. I have medical anxiety and it has been so bad this year. I've dealt with it all my life, but lately it's been affecting my work. But I have never been to therapy. Between paralysis about who to choose and anxiety about trying it out, I just haven't done it. It's so easy to get started with BetterHelp. Just fill out a questionnaire and you will match with a therapist in as little as a couple of days. I filled mine out on Easter Sunday and I had an appointment on Monday. You can easily switch therapists at any time with no additional cost if it's not the right fit. Personally, I said I wanted an older female therapist on the questionnaire, and the first session was instantly calming. My therapist was a good listener, she asked thoughtful questions, and she felt very grounded and experienced. It felt really good talking to her. And we have another session next Monday. I feel better just knowing that. The majority of BetterHelp members seek support for anxiety, like me, and 69% report improved symptoms after 6 weeks of therapy on BetterHelp. They carefully make sure therapists are well qualified and their support team is there to answer any other questions that you may have. With over 7,000 reviews and a 4.3 rating on Trustpilot, BetterHelp is a platform you can trust. Let my sponsor, BetterHelp, help you rule your anxiety so it doesn't rule you. Visit betterhelp.com/thecozycreative or click the link in the description for a 10% discount in your first month. Thank you, BetterHelp. But yeah, I do think that art is very therapeutic and has gotten me through a lot of things, a lot of long, dark nights of the soul where I don't have anything to lean on except for my own brain. And the second thing that I think is just so beneficial about creating this kind of art is that it is how we process things about the world, how we learn things. Just doing like the research to do an art project or delving into whatever your area of interest is, whatever compelled you to create this in the first place. And like, it could be anything, but the process of conceiving of a work and then creating that work, I think you can learn so much about the world around you, other people, it could be plants, it could be cultures, and then also how you yourself process all these ideas, like how you deal with this world that we exist. That's so wild. But at the same time, I think that art is the way that we cope with being human and that level of like consciousness that we have that is just very overwhelming sometimes. And if you limit yourself when you're creating art that like, oh, I have to be able to sell this, then you're denying yourself this very essential part of the human experience that I really think we have the ability to create art as a way to process the emotions that our big brains have to deal with. So like, don't deny your brain that part of being alive, especially not just because you're not going to make money on it. Now, I do want to take a minute in the middle of the benefits to ponder the fact that, yes, not everyone gets the ability to create art equally. Like, far from it, in fact. Just the basic ability to sing a song, or there's some kinds of artistic expression that anyone can do. But generally, most people need to be able to set aside a certain level of a block of time, and you also might need supplies of some kind. I mean, I always wanted to be an artist, but as a kid, there were a lot of barriers to creating a lot of better art. Like, I think one reason nowadays that we have so many talented artists compared to when I was a kid, one reason is that they have access to more like learning tools on the internet. Another reason is that a lot of them are now creating digital art where you have all kinds of different mediums, but they're all on like your tablet or something. Whereas when I was a kid, you just literally had to buy like paints and pastels and colored pencils and markers and see like what was going to work for you. And you'd start drawing and it's like I only bought like the 12 marker set because it's all I could afford. And it's so limiting. I don't even have like the basic skin tone for this character. So that could be very frustrating. And there is like sometimes great art is created because of limitations and like coming up with ways to work around them. But also, let's be honest with ourselves. It is extremely frustrating, especially with like art and music where you need some fairly expensive stuff to do some of the work. It is so frustrating to have like a too small set of colors. Or like when I was a kid, I really wanted to be able to play the violin, but I didn't know if I would like playing the violin or not because I didn't get a chance to try it. So I never played the violin. I've never barely even laid hands on a violin. At one point, one of my dad's friends gave us like a small guitar. So I tried to learn to play the guitar, but I really wanted to play the violin, which is a really different instrument with a really different sound. And I still wonder if my dad's friend had given us a violin instead, would I have learned to play that? I think that we do sometimes have a pull to certain instruments or mediums, and it's very frustrating if you don't have access to that thing. And time might be an even bigger factor. I know so many people nowadays, we are just struggling for time, and part of it is truly like a societal self-inflicted wound. I know I spend too much time on the internet no matter what I do, and I have made videos before about my various methods of restricting myself from the internet, and many of them have helped tremendously, but it is nothing is a perfect solution. No matter what I do, I spend more time on the internet than I would choose to if I could just magically like assign myself a number of internet hours per week. It would be less. There are a lot of people that are just working so hard to make ends meet, or you have kids. You know, not everyone has the same baseline for this stuff. I don't want to put pressure on you that you should be able to make time to create art when you just really don't have the time. But this is to say that if you have some free time, you shouldn't shut down that artistic impulse just because you feel like, it's kind of a waste, I'm not that good. If you have that compulsion to make art, honor that, is what I'm saying, to the extent that you can. Of course, another reason to create this bad and weird art is so that you can just get better at it and learn what doesn't work. Of course, if you've just started on something, you're not that great. It takes years to become good at any kind of artistic discipline generally. And even after you become kind of technically good, that doesn't mean you've really learned what works yet. So just the more that you do things, the better that you will get at it, and the more that you will learn what doesn't work for you, what suits your style. You'll learn what style of writing or what medium of art, just all the things that go into it. You'll become more connected to the type of artist you are and what your style is. Now, in every group, there's always that person who just doesn't seem to improve no matter what they do, the person that just doesn't actually seem to have talent. And if you're worried that might be you, it probably isn't, just because that person also seems to kind of lack self-awareness. Am I getting really mean here? Even if that person seems hopelessly bad, I still say, shine on with that, because I still think the benefits of like what you're learning through creating art and the personal therapeutic benefits of creating it, that's the reason you do it. The main reason that I write my books is for that stuff. It is just a side benefit that when I release them, and occasionally I'll get someone who seems to have gotten the same feeling that I got out of it when they're reading it. That is amazing. It's such an amazing kind of human connection. Like, I can't even describe how amazing I feel when that happens. It is still not the reason I do it. And of course, sometimes that person will have a breakthrough moment too, or they'll like switch up what they're doing and they will end up finding something that does work for them. And also, who are we as individuals to judge? There are some books out there that have done really well, and I would not have predicted it in a million years, because if that person was in my critique group, I probably would have been like, oof, this needs work. And they're selling great. So, and then there is the reason that I particularly love people who take on crazily ambitious projects with no guarantee of any success whatsoever. If you read my Patreon or Substack, you'll know that I recently played Stardew Valley for the first time. I've been wanting to play it for years, but I finally sat down, sunk like 40 hours into it before I was like back to work. And then I looked up like, who developed this game anyway? Like, I have no idea. And I read that one guy developed it over the course of years, just like working on it without knowing if it would do well. But clearly it was a hit. What he was doing resonated with people. But as he was doing it, as any of us are doing those kinds of projects, and there have been many in history that are kind of those unicorn tales of someone doing this crazy thing, like Lord of the Rings is another good example of like Tolkien having all this lore and languages, and I'm not sure he really predicted that they would become such a cult following so many years later. It's just a labor of love. And I think for every Stardew Valley and every Tolkien, every story like that does actually do well, every like outsider artist who ends up making it big and becoming hot in the art world, you know, whatever it is, the indie comic that blows up, there are a bunch of projects like that that don't go anywhere. You never hear about them. Somebody labored for like 10 crazy years on a thing and it just, you don't know what it is because it never went anywhere. So in theory, you might think, okay, if when you make art, it needs to have a purpose. We need to serve capitalism. We need to make sure that this is going to sell and appeal to people. We want it to have readers and viewers. Then you could obviously just say, well, all you people that aren't doing well, don't do it. And only Tolkien, Stardew Valley guy, anybody like that, you carry on because you have a marketable product. But the truth of it is that you don't know if you have a marketable project until you've done the thing. And sometimes not even then until like 20 years later when an art curator randomly comes to your estate sale. Like there is no telling what the ultimate purpose of these pieces of art are for. But without 100 people making their crazy projects, you don't get the one special one in the 100. Something that is so good and so amazing and so unexpected, something that no one else could do. So that is why I try to honor my crazy impulse to keep writing my fantasy world, because I don't know. I have done my best to embrace that it might stay a tiny niche where I sell a tiny amount of copies, but I also don't know. I very much value the people that do like it already, even when it's not big. Like every person that you touch is important. As far as like making a living, why am I spending so much time on this? It's just because I have to. I just feel that I have to. And if you feel like you have to make art, then I think that you should. And all the other voices in your head telling you why you shouldn't, because you're not good enough, because you're not going to sell, you're not going to succeed, even if you have to fit it around your real life a little awkwardly, go ahead and do it. It does have importance. And I think that's all I have to say about that today. I hope this resonated with some of you. If you're new to this channel, my name is Lydia Foxglove, and obviously I am a fantasy author. I have been making my living as a writer since 2009, but generally on more marketable projects. And on this channel, I talk about the creative life in general and writing in particular. So if that sounds good to you, make sure to hit the subscribe button. And I also have extra content on Patreon and Substack. Same content on both, as well as paid members get access to bonus videos and my Discord, which has been quite a fun little place lately. I've started doing a different question of the day, and that has been a lot of fun. We've had like more consistent daily engagement than ever. It's been such a nice break from the rest of the internet. So I love you, Discord people. If you have any thoughts about the importance of like why create art or any crazy projects that you're working on, I would love to hear about them. I would love to hear why art is important in your life. That has nothing to do with it being a career or money making type of thing or marketing or any of that. Thank you so much to my sponsor, BetterHelp. Make sure to click the link in the description to check them out. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.